The Satisfactory 1.2 update introduced tons of improvements, as well as some new custom game settings that can make the game feel entirely new, even to us veterans. I'm Benny, and today we're going to set up a brand new Satisfactory 1.2 server with GPORTAL. Here are the topics we're going to cover today. I've broken the video into chapters so you can skip to the part that matters most for you. Please note, dedicated servers are PC only. That's both Steam and Epic, though both those platforms can play together. On to Chapter 1, renting a server. So if you follow my link in the description, you'll get 10% off your server rental through GPORTAL. That'll take you to the main page here. And then you'll need to come down here and either log in or create an account. Once that's done, go ahead and hit Rent a Server. Once you're at the Rent a Server page, you'll see top games listed here. If your game is not listed as one of the top games, you can just scroll down, get to the search bar, and just start typing in the name. You usually don't have to get too far. There we go. And we're going to go to Satisfactory. And that will bring us to the first page here, which is going to be, we can choose a package deal, one of these three packages here, or you can go ahead and create your own configuration. Now, if one of these works great for you, go ahead and hit order now, and it'll take you to the order page. We're going to go ahead and go to create your own configuration just to see what that is. Now, this allows you to pick up to 1,000 slots, but you're really probably going to be fine with the default 10 slots that comes with a base package. Coffee Stain Studios officially supports a maximum of 4 players concurrently, and that's probably going to run the best for anybody. But the community consensus seems to be that anywhere from 8 to 16 players is really the ceiling before things start to get rough. I personally think I would keep it around 10. That way, network latency and all that kind of stuff, any of that kind of thing that could come into play, you've got some buffer there. So really, you shouldn't need to add anything to this unless you're going to try. If you're going to try something crazy, go ahead and crank it up. But, no guarantees that that's going to run smooth. Next, you're going to get down to duration, and I'm going to go with 30 days on here, but obviously if I went with 90, 180, 365, I'm going to get those discounts, and those do stack with the 10% discount you get for using my link down in the description. Next, we're going to go to pick a server location. Now, we've got plenty of locations here to choose from. I'm going to use the Dallas or Midwest server location. This is most centrally located to the people that I play with. All right, now we can go ahead and hit continue. And you'll be on the payment screen. From the payment screen, you're going to want to go ahead and select what payment method you want to use. It could be credit card, PaySafe card, WeChat Pay, PayPal. I've already got a balance here, so I'm just going to go ahead and choose that. Now, if everything looks good over here, go ahead and hit order. Once you do, you'll go through a number of screens where the game is installed and saved and set up, and then you'll be dumped onto a starting page. Now, I already have a server, so I'm just going to go ahead and skip right to that starting page. All right, so now you'll be on the status page, and this is the page where you can see what your server load is, both CPU usage and RAM. You can see what all your access data is as far as IP, port, FTP information. You probably are not going to need any of this. And then you've got your game server file section. This will allow you to choose whether you want to restart for updates, which I highly recommend you do. If you're having server problems, you can verify the game files from down here. And also there's an option to server wipe. Once your server is set up, you can go ahead and go to the basic settings tab. Now, there isn't a lot of settings here because Satisfactory handles things a lot different than most dedicated server software handles it. We'll get into that in a minute, but let's first take a look at what's available for basic settings through the GPORTAL page. First, you can choose which branch you're on, which is either going to be stable or experimental. I don't believe there's an experimental branch right now, so if you choose experimental, it's just going to be the same as stable. But obviously that could change depending on how things are at the time you're watching this video. Then we're going to go into basic settings, which is only the max number of players and autosave interval. This isn't a public server for me, so it doesn't really matter what my max players are, but if you're going to have a public facing server and you only want to restrict it to 4 players at a time or 8 players at a time, you can change that here. And the last thing is enable SML mod manager. Now, I'm not going to get into mods today because it's too complex for this particular video, but if you were going to use mods, you would need to enable the SML mod manager here, then hit save. And of course, you can, let's save this anyway because I changed the number of players. But once you have the mod manager installed here, you can go ahead and install it on your local client and go from there. And there's plenty of information out there on that. I might cover it in a later video at some point. All right, now that that's all set up, we can go ahead and start the server. So your IP and port are probably already revealed. I've got mine set to hide things just to make it easier when I'm doing videos. But go ahead and reveal that and hit copy. Now you've copied the IP and port. We can start up Satisfactory. Once at the main game screen, you want to go to Server Manager. Then add server and go ahead and paste in that IP and port. Now this is for the address only, so we're going to delete the port. Then we're going to come down here and we're going to paste that line again, but this time we're going to delete the IP address. That should leave us with IP up here, port down here. Go ahead and hit confirm. Now there's a security certificate and origin that cannot be verified. It's fine. Just go ahead and hit confirm. It'll say this server is unclaimed. So go ahead and name your server and hit confirm. Then you want an admin password and hit confirm. And this is about sending information to Coffee Stain Studios if you have crashes. And of course we want to do that. And there we go. We've connected to our server and made ourselves administrator. Now, the next thing you had to do is go to server settings. From here, you can change the name of the server, change the admin password, and you can also set a player password. So we're going to go ahead and change the player password. But this is up to you. If you're just going to have an open public server, you do not need to worry about this. And next, auto load session. So right now there are no sessions. There's a generic server session here. Don't worry about that right now. If you load a save, which we'll go over in a few minutes through the manage save section here, you can choose which save that you want to start up here. But for now, we're going to leave that at none. We have auto pause, which I like to turn off, especially in a factory game, because auto pause pauses the game when there are no players connected. I want my game to continue to run even when there's no players on. That way I can do a set and forget type of thing. But if you're worried about like your systems are not ready to run without anybody there and you're worried about things getting messed up, you can have the game pause while once all the players are off. Auto save on player disconnect. I like to have that on. And send crash reports from dedicated server. I'm going to leave that on. Okay, we have an autosave interval. 4 minutes seems to be fine for me. Server restart schedule is currently set to midnight, and we're going to get back to that later. And send gameplay data is on. This will help improve the game. On to network quality. So it's kind of a complex subject. What we're going to do is I'm going to set this to ultra. And if I have any issues with the game where there's hardware related issues, maybe you've got that 10 or 16 people on there and you start to stress out the hardware, then you might want to just tick this down a bit. But otherwise, ultra seems to be the way to go for me, even with 3 or 4 players on. And then season events. This would be like your Christmas and anniversary events and stuff like that. So feel free to leave those on if you want, or disable them if they annoy you. And there's a lot of good jokes around the Fixmas event. So if you haven't done it before, totally worth it. The AI just gets so mad at you for paying attention to the holiday. Good stuff. All right. Then we got weather presets. So there's the regular default, and then you can choose different types of setup. I personally like wet. It gives you rain and overcast and clear weather kind of balanced out with some thunderstorms here and there. And of course you can make this to any of these other ones and you can see what they are over here. I'm just going to go with wet. And then we can hit apply and confirm our settings. Okay, so these are all locked in and we're ready to move on to starting a new world. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and go to create a game. Now, if I was just going to choose one of these here, these are the default setup. And if you haven't played this game before, default is probably the way you want to go. But I'm going to show you all the new settings that are available as of the 1.2 update. So for now, don't worry about choosing your location at the moment. Let's go down to game modes. You are about to enable game modes. This will change the default experience of the game and affect all players in the session. Achievements are not blocked by enabling game modes. Game modes cannot be edited after a session is created. So once you've started this game, it's going to be the way it is. Go ahead and hit confirm. And so then what we've got here is we've got the space elevator deliverable cost multiplier. And so when you start having to supply things up to the station to build the station, which is the main goal of the game, it's going to give you a list of parts that it needs and how many of those parts. It's meant to be kind of the main way to progress the game. So you could speed up that progression by lowering the number like down to a quarter of what you needed before. Or you can slow down the game and make it more challenging by increasing that, obviously, up to 100 times what you already have. So next is parts cost multiplier, which is basically the same as how the elevator works. You can go anywhere from 1/4 the cost for when you're building something to double the cost of building something. Now we have power consumption, which I know these are all getting pretty self-explanatory. So a quarter of the power consumption up to 5 times the power consumption. Now we got resource node randomization, and this is where 1.2 really shines. Resource node randomization, you can either go with default, which is not randomized, or you can go with random location, basic resource rich, advanced resource rich, and fossil fuel rich. And what that means is, so random is just takes the current amount of those items that are in the game, so the same number of nodes you would have before, but it mixes them all up. So if you look down there, it says the basic resource rich is increased iron, coal, copper, caterium, and limestone, while advanced resource rich is increased quartz, sulfur, bauxite, SAM, and uranium, and then fossil fuel rich, obviously those listed there. So what this is going to do is it's kind of going to weight things more towards easier in the beginning, harder in the end, or make it harder to go fossil fuel. So you've got those defaults you can choose from. I'm going to leave it on random because I want the same game balance that's normally there. I just want it to be scattered around to make the game new and fresh for me. And then you've got resource node purity. And it's pretty self-explanatory. If you look down at the bottom there, it's going to show you what each of those things do. But you get all pure, mostly pure, average, and so on and so forth. And then the completely random impurity sets. With random, you could technically end up with a bunch of really poor resources. So I would avoid that unless you're really ready for the challenge. I'm going to stay with the default levels. And then, of course, if you have a seed you want to enter versus the one that's automatically generated, you can do that here. Once you've got these settings set the way you want them, go ahead and hit back. And then choose your starting location. I'm going to run this one just from the basic grass fields. Doesn't really matter. This is just a test session. And then I'm going to go test session. Once you've got everything set the way you want it, you can go ahead and hit start game. Then confirm. And the server will start creating a new game. All right. Here we are logged into our new server with all the settings that we've selected. Now let's look at loading a save. Now we're going to go back to our server manager. So the first thing we want to do, if we're going to load an existing save, and this, I'm telling you, Satisfactory makes this easier than anybody else out there. We're going to go to Manage Saves. And then if you've got a local save, all you got to do is hit upload save, and it's going to look at your local game and say, oh yeah, we've already got these games here. And it'll let you choose your auto save, so you can actually pick one that's a little older, or if you've got a manual save you want to work from, you can pick that. Test 2 is a game that I had already started the other day, and we've got it in a autosave 1, autosave 2, autosave 0, so we can go back as far as we need to. This is the most recent one. I'm going to hit this, and then upload game. Are you sure you want to upload to the server? Sure. Confirm. Upload complete. Hit confirm again. Now we're going to go to server settings. And we can choose what game we want to start with. So there's test session, the one we were just playing. But we can also set this to test 2, which is the one I had started the other day. Now it's going to load this game instead, and whatever settings were in that. And then once we have this set, we can go ahead and hit apply. All right, once everything is applied, you're going to go back to your GPORTAL page and you want to restart the server. Now that the server's restarted, we can go back to Satisfactory, go to our status page. Oh, give it a second here. There we go. Coming back online. And you'll see it says test 2 here. Join the game. And here we are on my local save with that lovely weather. And it's nice to see weather back again. All right, next let's look at how to download your save if you want to go back to playing locally. So we're just going to go to Manage Saves, then Download Save, and then just pick the session that you want to download. There's that first session we started out here. There's the test session that we were just playing now. Either way, just select one and hit Download Game. Already exists in the local save directory, or so you want to overwrite it. And that's fine. Yeah, we're going to overwrite it. It's just because I already had the game. If you remember, I just uploaded it. Now I'm downloading it. So it's just copying over that one. If there wasn't already a copy there, you wouldn't get this message. Okay, now let's talk about backup and restore. So obviously you can go to Manage Saves and the game already has backups going here. So we can go ahead and load, and we could load an older save, but it's only keeping so many. So you can go back for a few minutes, but you're not going to be able to go back to yesterday, say. So that's one of the places where you can use GPORTAL's system to automatically do that for you. So first, let's go back to server settings inside of Satisfactory, and we're going to set the server restart schedule to a time that is close, but not the same as our GPORTAL server's restart time. So currently the server restart schedule is set at midnight, and I usually have my GPORTAL doing its thing at like 4 a.m. So I set this at 4:30, and that time is going to depend on what time you're setting your GPORTAL restart and backup to. So I'm going to go to GPORTAL. I'm going to go down to restarts, and then I'm going to schedule a restart. So I'm going to go daily, time of the day at, you can go like 4 o'clock, 4:15. You want to go close to that other one so that you basically have a blackout period on your server where you can tell everybody, hey, the server restarts. It's going to be down between 4:15 and say 4:30. And then they'll know that you got a 15-minute maintenance period. All right, and we're going to hit save. And now we've got that daily restart set. Now we can go to backups. Turn automatic backups on, and it's going to give you, it's going to tell you that you need to have restarts enabled, which we already did. And then, so now that it's on, it is automatically going to back up during that restart every day. Your backups will be listed here, and you can just hit restore. And then of course you can create a manual backup anytime you want. I'm going to create one right now, and this can take a minute. All right, so you'll have this message here that manual backup is in process. And once that's finished, it'll appear down here under the manual backups and allow you to just hit the restore button. Next, let's talk about how you get somebody else to connect to your server. So we've already shown you how to connect to your server as an administrator, and that is the first step that has to be done. But when you want to have somebody else connect, you're going to do the same thing as you did to connect as administrator, only because the server's already been claimed, they won't have the option to become administrator. So you're going to have them go to the server manager. Then they're going to come down here and they are going to hit add server. And then they're going to do the same thing you did before with entering the IP address and the port. And then they're going to hit confirm. And then it's going to ask them, because the server's already claimed, it's not going to ask for a name and an administrator password. It's going to ask them for the player password that you set earlier. After that, they'll see this screen just like you do, along with a join game button, and they'll be able to join your game. Now, a few final notes to go over before we end the video here. First of all, if you want to do the game's intro, the tutorial section of the game, you're going to have to start a new game and then run through that tutorial. So if somebody you know that's going to join the server hasn't played before, if you haven't played before and you want to do the tutorial so you understand what you're doing, the server will automatically put you on tier 1, and the tutorial is that tier 0, that onboarding section. Go ahead and start a new game and then run yourself through the onboarding. Next, I want to talk about these individual character settings that you would think are part of server settings, but they're not. Those settings are under Options, Gameplay, and then what you want to look for is Creature Hostility and Keep Inventory. These two items here are individual, so each person joining the server has individual control over these items. If they change it, it does not change it for anybody else. It's just for you in particular. So you have your own creature hostility and inventory settings. So go ahead and set these how you want. And if you want to agree as a group as to what you're going to set, that's fine. There's no way to enforce that. So I hope you found this video useful. If you did, I'd appreciate a like and a subscribe. If you have any questions, feel free to leave them down in the comments below. Any updates or corrections to this guide will be in the pinned comment. Thanks for watching. Hope you have a fantastic day. Benny out.